What's up, guys? We are back. Fitness Profit Multiplier, Anthony and Jimmy. Today, we're going to be discussing the cost of becoming $1 million gym. Yes, it does cost you a lot of these things that we're going to go over to get to that seven-figure run rate, that seven-figure milestone in your business. There's a lot of costs that come with that. Some financial, some time, some emotions. And we're going to cover all that because it's not always sunshine and rainbows. And when I opened up my second facility, I got rich on Excel, and we could talk even about having multiple locations, the cost that comes with that as well. But, you can get rich on Excel. If I only have, 100 clients paying me this, I'll be there. And it sounds so easy on paper. And then you actually start doing it and you're like, whoa. This is not as easy as it sounded when I did the math on Excel.
Right.
So, Jimmy, let's talk about the cost of becoming $1 million gym. But before we do that, we just want to let you guys know that we are taking on a handful of new gym owners to work with us one-on-one. Just make sure you click that link below and book your call with us today before those spots are filled up. So, Jimmy, let's talk about it. $1 million gym. What's the cost?
Just like we talk about and touch on a little bit in our book that's coming out. We talk about these stages of gym ownership and all these things and talk a little bit about how it doesn't happen overnight. And the first big thing we want to talk about is how both Anthony and I came up in the industry, not before we owned the gyms. We talk about that a little bit in the book, but when we opened our gyms and actually got things rolling, and we came up in a similar fashion. And it was the biggest sacrifice that you have to make in the beginning is one of the costs is you have to burn all the boats. You have to go and not have a plan B. It's like, I'm opening this gym and it is going to sink or swim and I have no plan B and no backup. Burn the boats and move forward. And that's a hard thing to do mentally. But that's what you have to do to make sure that you're going to be successful is burn those boats and move forward. And it's scary because it's 70-hour work weeks. It's not seeing your friends or your kids that regularly. It's getting to the gym at 5 a.m. and staying there until 9 p.m. because you got to clean the gym after the last sales meeting that you had. It's doing all the sales, trying to figure out the bookkeeping, trying to figure out lease negotiations, all of these different things in the beginning. And you have no idea about any of it, but you're just using brute force and pushing through it. And sometimes that's a recipe for burnout, but all of us have to go through that phase and go through that sacrifice of working 70, 80 hours a week for yourself so that you don't have to work 40 hours a week for someone else.
Yeah, that's like a famous saying, right? You have to work 70 hours or whatever. But one of the things for me that was kind of made it easy for me to get over that hump was it was reliant on me. So what that means is I don't have to worry about me calling out or me. I'm never relying on other people. It was just me. And I know I had my goals that I wanted to reach and just keep pushing forward to do all these different things. So it was a little easier in that sense because it was just me. So I don't have to worry about me, but that's in the beginning, you're going to be giving up time. We talked about this on so many other episodes, but it's just time initially. That's what you're really giving up is the time. 70-hour work weeks are not unaccustomed when you're starting out. Like you said, cleaning the gym up late at night. I mean, I have pictures in my phone, it pops up on my memories on Facebook of, me cleaning the gym, mopping the floor at 11 o'clock. Or, I never forget one post that I had put up. I had finished training people at 11. And I had posted up the 11 p.m. That night. And then the next morning at 5:30 and no trainer works harder than me. And taking a picture, it was no trainer works as stupid as I was. You kind of wear it as a badge of honor in the beginning. I'm grinding. No one can work harder than me. But it's not about working harder. Sometimes it's about working smarter. So that's the time element of it. And listen, to some extent, you have to put that time in. But as soon as you have the ability to start scaling, you have to scale very, very fast in order to move and push the needle down the road.
Which honestly, neither of us did that well, that quickly as we should have, right? So if you're listening to this podcast, learn from our mistakes and learn from things that cost us. We didn't hire early enough. We talk about it in our book too. Like, hire before you can really afford it. You need to hire before you can really afford it, because we just wore it like a badge of honor. You know, it was the same thing for me. It was like, okay, I'll take on a client whenever I can take them on. I'll take on a sales meeting whenever I can take it on. In the beginning, you kind of have to do that. But as soon as you get some flow of clients coming through the door, you do need to hire somebody, because it's just so much more efficient and it scales you so much faster. You'll make more money faster by hiring that individual sooner, which we didn't do because we were just burning the candle and wearing that badge of honor of the 70-hour work weeks. Now, I'm not telling you that that doesn't need to happen. It still needs to happen, but we did it in kind of a brute force kind of way, as Anthony and I both exist in this world. It's kind of brute force and just make shit happen, you know? So
listen, but that's what it takes sometimes, is just gotta kind of push your way through it, right? And it probably has something to do with our upbringing. I'm sure, like Sigmund Freud, not Sigmund Freud, the psychologist guy would you know, he'd have a field day with us. But neither here nor there. The next thing that we're going to talk about as far as costs go is emotion. You know, you're going to have the days where you're sick. Like, for me, is one of the ones I hated the most. It's like the days that I was sick. And, you know, I was running the gym by myself, and I hated those days because I'm like, oh, I really feel like shit. And I would go in anyway. I didn't care. I was, like you said, like, you know, smash my head against the wall to push through the wall. But, you know, I would go in anyway, but I hated feeling sick and then having to like call out. And that would wane on my emotions, because when I would call out sick, I would not make money. So it was one of those things that was like the emotion behind like that part of it was really, really stressful for me in the beginning. Anyway, if we're talking about the beginning road, but as you start to get more into it, you're going to have the emotions of like dealing with clients. Listen, guys, clients are a pain in the ass. We know that. You're dealing with people, you're dealing with the public. You're going to have people criticizing you constantly, criticizing your program. Your program doesn't work. I mean, I got a 1-star review the other day from a scammer. Someone who was never in my gym just left me a 1-star review from another gym. I believe Jimmy got like a 1-star review sometime from somebody just saying like, you know, they just took my money or whatever it was.
yeah.
Like, these are the emotions that you have to deal with when it comes to getting to that $1 million run rate. You're going to piss people off. And no matter how good you are, no matter how much you try to like do the right thing, you're going to piss somebody off inevitably.
Mm-hmm. And this is a lot more emotional than I expected it to be in the beginning of my journey. As Anthony was saying, in the beginning of your journey, you're like, nobody's going to have anything negative to say. I'm a great trainer. I love helping people. I'm passionate about this. And this is really fun. And I enjoy my work. But as you scale your business up, it's just economies of scale. If you had 10 members and none of them said anything bad about you, it's because that's not the percentage yet of people that are going to say things that are bad about you. You have to reach critical mass to know that there are a certain amount of people that you can't please. And you have to get over that. There's also the emotional aspects of leads not picking up the phone, people not closing, you're not selling them. In the beginning, you basically sell everybody because it's so small and it's only you, and there's a very small amount of lead flow and all these different things. But as things start to scale up, you're going to get more emotional about these things. There's clients canceling, there's clients criticizing you. Like Anthony said, there's 1-star reviews, right? There's people not closing for sales meetings that you really want to help. There's people that freeze their membership and then never come back, even though you communicated with them as much as you could. And all of these things weigh on you emotionally through the path of your business. And eventually you have to learn how to not let those things affect you as much and know the numbers and push forward from there. But you have to go through that phase of it being emotionally draining for you to deal with some of the negativity that you're going to deal with on all sides of the business: acquisition, service providing. There are emotional aspects to managing staff, which we can dive into. But if we just talk about client base, not all your clients that you ever train are going to love you. I mean, Progressive Performance, my gym, we now have 1,500 people in our CRM that have once purchased something from us at some point. Not all 1,500 of those people were happy. Not all 1,500 of those people were great people. But that's what it takes to get to the $1 million, right? It's like a lot of no's to get to a yes. There's some negatives to get to the positives.
Yeah, for sure. So the next thing that we want to talk about, one of the other costs, is relationship costs. You know, this is one that's like, I guess it could kind of fit into emotion too, but like relationship costs is in the sense like you might have to miss things, you know? And I think a lot of this stuff happens more so in the beginning, because once you start scaling, and this is why we talk about this all the time, it's like you have to start scaling yourself. Because if you start scaling yourself, you're able to actually start to be able to enjoy other aspects of your life. You're buying back your time. But it, you know, relationship wise, especially in the beginning, there's going to be sacrifices. You're not going to be able to go to the party that you want to go to or the family event that you want to go to. You have to be able to say no to those things so you could say yes to grow your business. So sometime later down the road, you can do those things without having to say no. But the problem is that too many people stay fixed on just sitting in that seat all the time and not scaling themselves out. This is why scale is so important. But yeah, it could definitely on relationships, you know, it could definitely be a burden, you know, from a marriage standpoint. You know, your wife, all you do is at work, you know, or husband, whatever they would tell you, you know, you're always at work. All you care about is the gym. I mean, I still hear that. All you care about is the gym. Well, it's like, yeah, but, you know, I have my goals and I want to make it important. And I'm doing better at prioritizing my family now versus ever before because I'm able to at the stage that I'm at. I scaled myself out of most of the roles. But, you know, as far as like coming from a single guy on the other end of this, Jimmy, what were some of the pitfalls that you had coming up as far as relationships go?
Yeah, it's very similar. I mean, wife, girlfriend, whatever it may be, finding that person that understands your drive and your ambition is probably one of the most important things to find as an entrepreneur. But when we look at it from a perspective of your significant other not really understanding what it takes to the cost, so like they have to understand the cost. So if they don't understand the cost, it can ruin your relationship. And it's something that is a sacrifice that you have to make and know that you have that right person. There's times in my business where I was dating individuals, and when I date them seriously, it became more of a problem. When I dated more casually, it wasn't as big of a deal because I could go off and do my thing and I wasn't super committed to these individuals and it wasn't a big deal because like when I was available, I was available. When I wasn't. But when you get into a serious relationship, that person, if they're not in support of like on the same road and the same path with you, there's going to be a lot of this. Oh, well, you're always at the gym, you're always working, you're always thinking about it, you're always talking about it, and they're going to be upset with you over it because that's something that you have to learn to manage with your relationship. Like Anthony was saying, it's something that you have to learn to manage. So the sacrifice that you're making or the cost of it is for you to maintain that relationship, you have to learn how to shut it off and turn it back on and create that divide, because if you don't, it can cost you the relationship potentially. So there was a time when I was dating somebody and I'm like, I had an employee that I needed to fire. We talked about it on another podcast, the toilet paper bandit. I had to fire the toilet paper bandit and fired him. I had to go back in the gym and cover a bunch of stuff because it was my gym. It was my baby. I had to jump back in. And that was one of these things. Well, when is it going to be me? It was this whole thing. When is it going to be me was the deal that with the relationship. And is it me or is it the gyms? Why are you choosing the gyms over me? And that's what you hear a lot. So the cost of it is that some people aren't going to be able to ride with you through, and some people aren't going to be able to stay on that path with you that needs to be in the beginning to get it there. Oh, when is it going to be me? Well, when you open another location, when is it going to be time for me? When is it going to be time for me? Kind of this thing that you hear. And you have to sacrifice. Sometimes that individual is not the person that's going to ride with you. And because you decided to be this entrepreneur, this gym owner, you're trying to scale this thing and grow it into something that both of you can enjoy later on because you have the freedom. But if they can't ride with you through the tough part, maybe they can't stay with you through it. And that's a sacrifice that you might have to make.
Right. But every one of those stories are different. I mean, you have your own story listening to this right now, right? Like there's something that is going on in your life that you're like, you know, maybe this person isn't helping me get to my goals. And these are decisions that you got to make. But, you know, it's like I said, anyone can get rich on Excel, guys. You could put all these numbers down and say, hey, I'm going to open up a gym. And if I just have X amount of clients, I'm going to be a millionaire, you know, but there are some costs to it. So what are those costs for you? We want to hear what you struggle with the most. So if you guys click the link below, you could join our Facebook group. And in there, we can continue this conversation forward because I'm curious which aspect of this you guys struggle with the most. But until next time, Anthony and Jimmy, Fitness Profit Multiplier, we are out.